The wind howled through the narrow alleys of Chicago's frostbitten underbelly like a vengeful ghost, carrying the bite of a winter that never relented, mirroring the unyielding chill in Viktor Drakov's veins. He was the kingpin of the North Side Syndicate, a man forged in Siberian gulags and tempered by decades of blood-soaked turf wars, his empire built on cocaine pipelines from the docks and extortion rackets that squeezed every last dollar from the city's trembling veins. At 42, Viktor towered over his world at 6'4", his broad shoulders straining against custom-tailored wool coats lined with Kevlar, his face a chiseled mask of high cheekbones, piercing ice-blue eyes, and a jagged scar slicing from his left temple to jawline, a souvenir from a knife fight in Moscow that had claimed his brother's life and ignited his rise. His hands, massive and calloused, bore the faded tattoos of the Vor v Zakon, the thieves' in-law code that bound him to a life of merciless precision. Emotions were luxuries he had long discarded, control was his god, and tonight, he descended upon Club Eclipse to collect a debt long overdue. Lena Voss owned the club, a defiant spitfire in a world that chewed up women like her and spat out bones. 32 years old, with a lithe, athletic build honed from years of bouncing drunks and breaking up brawls, she stood 5'7" in her stiletto boots, her raven-black hair cascading in wild waves down her back, framing emerald eyes that burned with the fire of someone who'd clawed her way out of a trailer park hellhole. Her skin, pale as fresh snow, was marked by a single tattoo, a coiled serpent on her collarbone, symbolizing the venom she unleashed on anyone who crossed her. Dressed in a sleek black leather mini-dress that hugged her curves like a second skin, fishnet stockings climbing her toned legs, and a heavy trench coat draped over her shoulders, Lena ran Eclipse with an iron fist wrapped in velvet. It was her kingdom, built from tips and grit after her father's overdose left her orphaned at 18, and no Russian bear was going to rip it away without a fight. The debt? 50 grand in protection money skimmed during a rival's raid 6 months back, money Viktor now demanded with interest, compounded in blood if necessary. The club's bass-thumping interior pulsed with oblivious revelers under strobe lights that painted the crowd in electric blues and reds, the air thick with sweat, cheap perfume, and the metallic tang of spilled liquor. Viktor's entourage burst through the double doors like a storm front, 6 enforcers in black suits, their bulges betraying shoulder holsters, flanking their boss as he carved a path to the VIP balcony overlooking the dance floor. Conversations died in his wake, bartenders froze mid-pour, even the DJ faltered, the music dipping into an eerie hum. Viktor didn't glance at the masses, his gaze locked on Lena behind the elevated bar, where she wiped down a glass with deliberate slowness, her full lips curled in a smirk that dared him to make a move. "You have my money, Ms. Voss?" Viktor's voice cut through the din like a blade, deep and accented with the gravel of Eastern European winters, laced with a calm that promised apocalypse. He leaned on the bar rail, his presence sucking the oxygen from the space, gold cufflinks glinting as he adjusted his coat. His men fanned out, blocking exits, hands hovering near Glocks tucked in waistbands. Lena set the glass down with a deliberate clink, meeting his stare without flinching, her heart pounding a war drum beneath her composed facade. She'd heard the whispers, Drakov the Devourer, who skinned debtors alive and fed them to the Chicago River. But backing down meant losing everything, the club, her independence, the fragile empire she'd bled for. "Your money? Funny how that works when your boys let the Irish trash through the back last spring. Maybe you should collect from them first." Her voice was husky smoke, defiant jazz cutting the tension, drawing nervous glances from her staff huddled in the shadows. Viktor's lips twitched, not in amusement but in the predator's prelude to the kill. He vaulted the rail in one fluid motion, landing silently beside her, his cologne, a sharp blend of cedar and gun oil, invading her space. Towering over her, he gripped the bar edge, knuckles whitening. "Excuses are for the weak. 50,000. Now. Or I shut this shithole down, starting with you." His breath ghosted her ear, hot against the winter chill seeping through the walls, and for a split second, his eyes dipped to the swell of her cleavage, a flicker of something primal breaking his glacial control. Lena's pulse raced, adrenaline surging like liquid fire. She couldn't pay, not tonight, not without liquidating her savings, which she'd already sunk into bribing city inspectors. But surrender? Never. With a feral grin, she shrugged off her trench coat in one dramatic sweep, letting it pool at her feet. The crowd below gasped as she revealed not just the skin-tight dress, but the snub-nosed .38 revolver strapped to her thigh holster, gleaming wickedly under the lights. "Take it off or I will," she snarled, yanking back the hammer with a click that echoed like thunder. "Touch my club, and the first bullet's yours, Kingpin." The room froze into stunned silence, the music dying completely as Victor's men drew weapons in unison, barrels trained on her head. But Victor raised a hand, halting them, his scarred face inches from hers now, nostrils flaring as he inhaled her scent, vanilla and rebellion. No one defied him. No one stripped bare their desperation like this, bearing both steel and skin in a challenge that stirred the beast he'd caged for years. His control splintered, a low growl rumbled from his chest, massive hand snapping out to seize her wrist, wrenching the gun away with effortless strength. It clattered to the floor as he spun her against the bar, her back arching involuntarily, breasts pressing into the polished wood. "You think a toy makes you safe?" he hissed, free hand clamping her jaw, forcing her gaze to his. Those emerald eyes blazed back, unyielding, lips parted in defiance. The proximity ignited something feral, her heat against his cold fury, curves yielding just enough to taunt. Without warning, Victor crushed his mouth to hers in a punishing kiss, brutal and devouring, teeth nipping her lower lip until copper bloomed on his tongue. Lena fought at first, nails raking his neck, drawing thin lines of blood, but her body betrayed her, a traitorous moan escaping as his tongue invaded, claiming victory in the wet heat of her surrender. He broke away only when her knees buckled, hauling her upright by the waist, her dress riding up scandalously. "This club is mine now. And so are you." His voice was velvet-wrapped razor, eyes dark with possession as he nodded to his men. They swarmed, zip-tying her wrists behind her back amid her curses, dragging her toward the exit while Victor pocketed her gun like a trophy. The crowd parted like the Red Sea, whispers exploding into chaos as snow lashed the streets outside. Victor's blacked-out Escalade idled curbside, engine purring like a panther. He shoved Lena inside first, sliding in after, the partition rising to seal them in privacy as tires screeched into the night. She twisted against her bonds, spitting venom. "You'll regret this, you frozen bastard. I'll burn your empire to the ground." But Victor only chuckled, low and dangerous, pulling her onto his lap despite her struggles, his erection straining against his trousers as he ground her against him deliberately. "Keep fighting, Kodianok. It makes the breaking sweeter." His hands roamed possessively, one sliding up her thigh to toy with the holster's empty strap, the other tangling in her hair to yank her head back, exposing her throat. He bit down there, marking her with teeth that promised more savagery, drawing a gasp that was half pain, half unwelcome fire. The city lights blurred past as they sped toward his penthouse atop the Frost Tower, a fortress of glass and steel overlooking Lake Michigan's icy expanse, a lair where debts were collected in screams and sighs. By the time they arrived, Lena's defiance had simmered into a smoldering rage, but Victor's composure was fraying at the edges, the taste of her blood lingering on his lips like an addiction. Elevators whisked them to the top floor, his private domain of minimalist opulence, black marble floors, walls of armored glass, and a king-sized bed visible through open double doors, draped in Siberian furs. He cut her ties with a switchblade, tossing it aside, then backed her against the panoramic window, the city's frozen grid sprawling below like his conquered territory. "Strip," he commanded, voice thick with restrained hunger, shedding his coat to reveal a crisp white shirt stretched over rippling muscle, sleeves rolled to expose veined forearms. Lena hesitated, chest heaving, nipples pebbling against the thin leather from the cold glass at her back, or was it him? Defiance warred with the magnetic pull of his dominance, but she complied slowly, peeling the dress down inch by tortuous inch, revealing lace panties that did little to hide her arousal. Victor watched, unblinking, his breath ragged, control evaporating as she stood bare before him save for stockings and heels. He closed the distance in a blur, lifting her effortlessly onto a glass console table, spreading her thighs with rough hands. "Mine," he growled, dropping to his knees, not in supplication, but conquest, his mouth descending like winter's wrath, tongue delving into her core with merciless precision. Lena's hands fisted his hair, torn between shoving him away and pulling him deeper, cries echoing off the glass as waves of unwanted pleasure crashed through her. Victor devoured her relentlessly, fingers joining the assault, curling inside until she shattered, body convulsing in his iron grip. Rising, he freed himself from his trousers, thick and throbbing, slamming home without preamble, filling her completely in one brutal thrust. Their rhythm was war, hips clashing, nails scoring flesh, grunts mingling with moans as he pinned her wrists above her head, pounding with the force of pent-up obsession. Lena wrapped her legs around him, meeting every savage drive, the line between hate and hunger obliterating. He came with a roar, flooding her, collapsing atop her trembling form, their sweat-slicked bodies fused in the aftermath. But this was only the beginning. Victor pulled out slowly, watching his claim drip from her, then scooped her up, carrying her to the bed. "Sleep, little viper. Tomorrow, you learn true ownership." As snow blanketed the city below, Lena lay spent in his arms, the cold Mafia Kingpin's control forever lost to the fire she'd ignited, a dark romance sealed in ice and ecstasy, with endless chapters of dominance yet to unfold. The first rays of a merciless dawn pierced the armored glass of Victor's Frost Tower penthouse, casting elongated shadows across the vast bedroom where furs lay tangled from the night's conquest. Lena Voss awoke to the ache of bruises blooming on her thighs and neck, the metallic tang of dried blood on her lip, and the heavy weight of Victor's arm draped possessively across her waist like a manacle forged in flesh. She was no longer in her club. This was enemy territory, a gilded cage 30 stories above a city that now felt like a distant dream. Disoriented fury surged through her as she registered the opulence, the king bed dominating the space, black silk sheets rumpled beneath her naked form, a wall of monitors flickering with security feeds from his empire's holdings. Victor stirred beside her, his scarred chest rising. And falling in deep sleep, the tattoos snaking over his torso telling tales of prison ink and blood oaths. For a heartbeat, she considered slipping away, but the glint of steel cuffs bolted to the headboard and the faint click of hidden locks on the door dashed that hope. She was trapped, body marked as his, and the insidious throb between her legs whispered of pleasures she'd never sought. Victor rose like a leviathan from the depths, naked and unashamed, his muscular frame rippling as he stretched, every movement a testament to disciplined brutality. At 6'4", he dwarfed the room, his cock already half-hard from morning urges as he glanced down at her with those piercing ice-blue eyes, now softened by sated possession. "Awake, Kodianak? Good. Breakfast in 10. Then we discuss terms." His voice was gravel over silk, devoid of last night's frenzy, as if claiming her had been mere business. He strode to the ensuite marble palace, water cascading from rainfall showers that steamed the mirrors, emerging minutes later in low-slung sweats, hair damp and tousled. Lena sat up, clutching a fur throw to her chest, glaring daggers. "Terms? Fuck your terms. Let me go, or my people will torch your operations." He laughed, a low rumble that vibrated the air, tossing her a silk robe monogrammed with his initials, VD, a brand she despised yet slipped into, the fabric whispering against her sensitive skin. Down in the kitchen, a spread awaited, blini with caviar, strong black coffee, fresh berries, prepared by silent staff who averted their eyes and vanished like ghosts. Victor ate methodically, outlining her new reality over the meal. "Eclipse is under my protection now. You run it, for me. Refuse, and it burns. Fight me, and chains come out." He slid a velvet box across the island, a diamond choker, its clasp a hidden tracker, gleaming like a collar for a pet. Lena shoved it away, but his hand shot out, forcing her chin up. "Wear it. Or I choose where it goes." Defiance fueled her, but survival demanded cunning. She donned the choker, its weight a constant reminder, then endured the day's descent into hell. Victor paraded her through his domain, starting with the underground garage where mechanics serviced armored fleets, Escalades, G-Wagons, a matte black Bugatti rigged with run-flat tires and grenade launchers. "Touch nothing," he warned, but she traced a finger along a hood anyway, earning a sharp slap to her ass that stung through the robe. Next, the vaulted war room in the tower's sublevels, walls lined with servers humming data on rivals, safes bulging with cash bricks and uncut diamonds, a table strewn with burner phones and maps marked in red for hits. His lieutenant, a hulking Tatar named Ruslin with a missing ear, nodded deferentially. "Boss, Irish shipment incoming. Dock 17 tonight." Victor grunted approval, pulling Lena onto his lap in front of them, hand possessively kneading her thigh. "She stays close. Anyone looks too long, they lose eyes." Humiliation burned, but so did the heat pooling low when his fingers brushed higher, teasing without mercy. The real torment began at dusk as snow blanketed the city in white silence, winds rattling the tower like angry spirits. Victor locked her in a guest suite, plush with a four-poster bed, but windows barred, door triple-bolted, and left for the docks, enforcers posted outside. Alone, Lena paced, rifling drawers for anything useful, a letter opener, which she pocketed, a phone, dead and passcode. Hours ticked by, rage festering into desperation. She plotted, slip a guard, steal keys, run to allies in the south side. But isolation gnawed. Victor had isolated her world to his shadow. Lightning cracked the sky as the storm peaked, thunder shaking foundations, power flickering ominously. Victor returned past midnight, soaked and bloodied, a shallow gash across his knuckles from a dockside brawl where Irish upstarts had ambushed the shipment. Blades had flown, 2 enemies floated face down in the harbor now. He burst into her suite reeking of gunpowder and brine, eyes wild with adrenaline-fueled hunger. "You waited like a good girl?" His sweats hung low, blood streaking his abs. Lena stood defiant by the window, robe half open from pacing heat. "Good girl? I'm no one's bitch, Drakov. Untie me from this nightmare." Provocation lit the fuse. Victor lunged, slamming her against the wall, robe torn away in shreds, exposing her naked glory under storm light. "Nightmare? This is salvation, Malishka." His mouth claimed her savagely, tongue plundering as hands roamed, pinching nipples to hard peaks, eliciting gasps she hated herself for. She clawed his shoulders, drawing fresh blood, but he reveled in it, lifting her like she weighed nothing and hurling her onto the fur rug before the fireplace, crackling flames casting demonic glows. "Fight all you want. It ends with you screaming my name." Pinned beneath his bulk, Lena bucked wildly, but Victor trapped her wrists in one massive hand, the other delving between her thighs, finding her slick despite fury. "Liar," he growled, 2 fingers thrusting deep, curling against that spot that made stars explode behind her eyes. She arched, cursing him, "Bastard, stop," but hips betrayed her, grinding shamelessly. He withdrew, flipping her onto stomach, knees spreading her wide. The first slap landed on her ass, a crack echoing over thunder, skin blooming red. "Count," he demanded, another following, harder, pain blooming into molten need. 1, fuck you, 2. By 10, she was sobbing please, ass fiery, core aching. Victor shed his sweats, his cock rigid and veined, pressing against her entrance. "Beg for it." Defiance shattered, "Please, Victor, fuck me." He surged in, stretching her to limits, pounding with primal force, hips slamming, balls slapping wetly, one hand fisting her hair to arch her back, the other rubbing her clit in merciless circles. The rug burned knees, but ecstasy built like the storm, crashing as she clenched around him, walls milking his release. He roared, flooding her depths, collapsing in a tangle of limbs, thunder masking their gasps. Spent, he rolled her atop him, still buried inside, stroking her back possessively. "Mine now, Lena. No escape." She trembled, aftershocks rippling, hating the comfort in his arms, the way her body molded to his like it belonged. Outside, snow piled high, burying the world, but within these walls, a darker bond forged, captive to captor, ice melting into fire. Victor whispered promises of more games, more punishments, his control slipping further into obsession, while Lena's plots of escape twisted with unwelcome yearning. The night deepened, chains both literal and lustful tightening, promising torments that blurred agony and bliss in equal measure. Tension simmered like a pot on the verge of boiling over in the days following the storm, as Victor's empire teetered on the razor's edge of all-out war. Whispers from the streets filtered through his network of informants. The Irish mob, stung by the Dockside massacre, had allied with a rogue faction of the Colombians, pooling resources for a decapitation strike against the Drakov syndicate. Lena Voss, now a fixture in Victor's shadowed world, navigated her captivity with a viper's grace, the diamond choker a constant noose around her throat, its tracker pinging her every move to his phone. She played the part outwardly, managing Eclipse remotely via Victor's secure line, ordering stock and shaking down staff for loyalty oaths, but inwardly, schemes brewed. A bribed bartender smuggled her burner phones, Southside contacts promised extraction if she could slip the penthouse. Yet each night, Victor's touch eroded her resolve, his body a drug that left her craving the pain-laced highs. Victor Drakov, the unflappable kingpin, felt cracks forming in his fortress of control. Lena's presence haunted him, her emerald defiance a mirror to the wife he'd lost to a car bomb a decade ago, fueling his isolation. He doubled security, snipers on rooftops, drones patrolling perimeters, his personal guard swelling to 20. Mornings blurred into strategy sessions in the war room, where maps sprawled across holographic tables, red pins marking enemy safehouses. Ruslin, his Tatar second, pounded fists on intel printouts. They hit the warehouse last night, 2 mil in product torched. We retaliate, hit their kingpin Declan O'Rourke at the Emerald Casino. Victor nodded, eyes flicking to the feed of Lena in the gym, sweat slicked in sports bra and shorts, pounding a heavy bag with fury that stirred his blood. Do it. Quietly. She stays with me, no risks. Lena became his shadow, unwilling shield in this chess game of slaughter. He dragged her to the first retaliation at midnight, bundling her into the Escalade's armored belly, her protest silenced by a bruising kiss. The Emerald Casino loomed on the riverfront, neon veins pulsing against the night, packed with high rollers oblivious to the storm brewing. Victor moved like a specter through back corridors, Lena flanked by enforcers, her heart hammering as gunfire erupted, silenced pops felling O'Rourke's guards. Blood sprayed marble tiles, a guard lunged at Victor, knife flashing, but Lena's instincts kicked in, shoving her stiletto heel into the man's throat with a wet crunch. Victor finished him with a neck snap, turning to her with feral approval. My fierce kitten. Back in the SUV, adrenaline high, he yanked her onto the seat, fingers plunging into her panties, fucking her to climax amid screeching tires, her cries muffled against his shoulder. Executions escalated, each a grotesque ballet of Victor's precision. In a derelict meatpacking plant on the outskirts, he oversaw the interrogation of a captured Irish lieutenant, chains suspending the man from hooks amid rust and awful stench. Lena, forced to watch from shadows, stomach churning as pliers extracted teeth, then fingernails, Victor's gloved hands methodical. Where's O'Rourke? No answer earned a blowtorch kiss to flesh, screams echoing. The man broke, spilling casino vault codes. Victor ended him with a single 9mm to the forehead, splatter painting the wall. This is power, Lena. Protection. She retched in the corner, but his arm around her waist steadied, a twisted comfort amid the carnage. Jealousy ignited the powder keg days later, during a lockdown in Victor's secondary safehouse, a fortified brownstone in the Gold Coast, walls lined with panic rooms and stocked with enough munitions for a siege. Enemies prowled closer, a drive-by had peppered his convoy, forcing retreat. Inside, maps and laptops cluttered the dining hall, Ruslin coordinating hits. Then she arrived, Tatiana Volkov, 25, daughter of a deceased ally, a raven-haired siren in crimson silk with curves that screamed seduction. Victor, darling, she purred in flawless Russian, gliding in uninvited via family ties, pressing against him in a hug that lingered too long, manicured nails trailing his chest. Let me ease your burdens. Her eyes slid to Lena dismissively, lips curving in challenge. Lena seethed from the doorway, robe cinched tight, the choker's diamonds biting skin. Tatiana was everything she wasn't, pliable, pedigreed, mafia bred. Victor tolerated her, pouring vodka shots, but his gaze sought Lena's fire. Dinner devolved into Tatiana's performance, leg brushes under the table, whispers of old times, her hand on his thigh blatant. Ruslin smirked knowingly, Lena excused herself, storming to the master suite, slamming the door. Minutes later, Victor followed, locking it, eyes blazing. Jealous, Kodianak? He loomed, shedding shirt to reveal fresh bruises from the drive-by. Fuck you and your whore, Lena spat, shoving him. Victor caught her wrists, slamming her against the heavy oak door, mouth crashing down in a kiss that tasted of vodka and possession. No one touches what's mine. He ripped the robe open, exposing her lace demi-bra and thong, hands mauling breasts. Pinching nipples until she yelped. Lifting her, he carried her to the four-poster bed, velvet curtains drawn against the night, tossing her down amid silk pillows. Watch. He stripped deliberately, cock springing free, thick and demanding, then crawled over her, tearing panties aside. No preamble, he thrust in deep, stretching her exquisitely, hips snapping with jealous fury. Lena clawed his back, legs locking ankles behind him, meeting every brutal drive. Mine, he growled, flipping her to hands and knees, slapping ass cheeks red before plunging back, one hand yanking hair like reins, the other snaking to circle her clit. Tatiana's laughter echoed faintly from downstairs, fueling his savagery. He fucked like a beast, angling to hit her G-spot relentlessly, her walls fluttering. Scream it, say you're mine. Orgasm ripped through her. Yours, Victor. He followed, pulsing hot inside, marking her utterly. They collapsed, his weight grounding her, fingers tracing love bites. But vulnerability surfaced in afterglow. Victor confessed fragments, wife's death, empire's fragility, while Lena revealed her father's debts that birthed eclipse. Loyalties fractured, her burner phone buzzed with an extraction offer from O'Rourke's men, tempted by freedom. Yet alliance tempted more. Victor's world offered power, passion. As safehouse alarms blared distant gunfire, she chose silence, curling into him, their twisted pact sealed in sweat and whispers, enemies circling closer in the gathering storm. War erupted in a cataclysm of fire and lead as the rival alliance launched their masterstroke against the Drakov Empire, the night sky over Chicago fracturing with muzzle flashes and the wail of sirens like a symphony of doom. Viktor Drakov mobilized every asset, fleets of SUVs thundering through snow-choked streets, helicopters chopping air above the Frost Tower, snipers nesting in high-rises. Lena Voss, entangled in his web of dominance and desire, stood at the epicenter, the diamond choker now a talisman rather than torment, her schemes of escape evaporated in the heat of survival's forge. She'd seen the abyss, bodies piled in warehouses, empires crumbling in blood, and chosen his side, whispering intel from overheard burner calls that pinpointed the enemy's assault vector. Victor, his glacial control thawed by obsession, armored her in a Kevlar vest beneath a fur-lined coat, pressing a compact Glock into her hand. Stay behind me. Die for me, and I burn the city. His kiss was fierce, tasting of gun oil and goodbye. The battle converged at the Frost Tower's fortified base, rivals storming the plaza in technicals mounted with .50 calories, Colombians rappelling from drones, Irish hurling pipe bombs that shattered glass lobbies. Victor's men repelled waves, Russlin machine gunning from balconies, grenades blooming orange fireballs that lit the snow red. Inside the lobby, chaos reigned, furniture barricades splintering under bullets, enforcers trading lead for lead. Victor, a colossus in tactical gear, wielded an AK like an extension of fury, dropping 3 assailants with precise bursts, blood arcing across marble. Lena covered his flank, her Glock barking twice, headshots felling a charging gunman, heart pounding with borrowed ruthlessness. Enemies breached the elevators, a kill squad led by Declan O'Rourke himself, a wiry fox with ginger beard and eyes like coals. They piled into the penthouse sublevel, flashbangs popping, acrid smoke choking corridors. Victor funneled them into the war room, claymores shredding the vanguard in geysers of limbs. Close quarters turned visceral, knives slashing, fists cracking jaws. O'Rourke lunged through haze, sawed-off shotgun booming, pellets shredding Victor's shoulder plate. Victor roared, tackling him, fists pulverizing face in a frenzy of vengeance. Lena fired from cover, winging O'Rourke's arm, buying Victor the moment to snap his neck with a wet twist. But victory soured on the tower's rooftop helipad, winds howling as the storm renewed, snow whipping like shrapnel. Victor directed evac, chopper blades thumping readiness, when a sniper's round cracked from a distant spire, Colombian ghost, laser-sighted Barrett piercing the gale. Time dilated, the tracer streaked true, aimed at Lena directing wounded below. Victor saw it, world narrowing to her emerald eyes widening in shock. No thought, only instinct, he dove, massive body intercepting the path, the .50 cal slug punching through Kevlar, flesh, exploding out his back in a spray of crimson. He crumpled atop her, blood soaking her coat, gasping wetly. Live, mine. Lena screamed, raw and primal, dragging him behind concrete barriers as return fire chewed the helipad. Enforcers swarmed the sniper's perch, confirming the kill, but Victor bled rivers, pale as death, ice-blue eyes dimming. In the chopper's med bay, hastily converted with sutures and plasma, she tore his gear away, pressing pads to the sucking wound, tears carving tracks through soot. Don't you dare die, you controlling prick. Not after making me yours. Surgeons stabilized him mid-flight to a black site clinic, bullets extracted amid beeps and oaths, his pulse threading the needle of life. Days blurred in recovery's haze, Victor's penthouse converted to sterile sanctuary, for drips beeping, monitors charting vitals, Lena his vigilant sentinel, spooning broth laced with defiance. He woke to her vigil, scarred hand clasping hers, voice a rasp. You fought like a Drakov. Weakness stripped pretenses, confessions poured, his youth in gulags, love lost to rivals, fear that she'd flee. Lena straddled his lap carefully, avoiding wounds, robe parting to bare herself. I'm no fleeing mouse. I'm your queen. Their kiss ignited embers, slow building to urgency despite frailty. On the seventh night, full moon silvering the snow beyond glass walls, strength returned enough for conquest. Victor pulled her atop, hands gripping hips, guiding her descent onto his hardening length, slow, reverent at first, her slick heat enveloping inch by inch. Lena rode with languid power, breast swaying, nails raking his bandaged chest lightly, drawing winces that morphed to groans. He thrust up, matching rhythm, one hand tangling in raven waves, the other thumbing her clit in expert circles. Storm winds rattled panes, mirroring their frenzy, she ground down, walls clenching, chasing peaks. Harder, he demanded, flipping her despite pain, pounding from above missionary style, lips at her ear. Forever mine, say it. Forever, she gasped, shattering around him, milking his explosive release, seeds spilling deep as they fused in shuddering bliss. Dawn gilded their entwined forms, Victor's empire secured, rivals decimated, alliances forged in the ashes. Lena rose as his equal, co-running eclipse and rackets, her serpent tattoo inked with his vor symbols. No more chains, partnership in darkness, love savage and unyielding. The frozen Mafia Kingpin, once lost to control, found eternity in her fire, a dark romance consummated in blood, bullets, and boundless possession. If this tale of icy dominance and scorching passion gripped you, hit that subscribe button now for more chapters of forbidden Mafia heat. Don't miss the next dark obsession dropping soon.